Hey folks, walk with me. Well, we are on a brisk fall day here in the northeastern, or I guess I'm technically in the New England area of the US. And I'm in this little path that I'm gonna have to keep turning around in because it's slightly less windy here because there's trees on both sides. And so we're going to be turning around a lot. So hopefully it doesn't make you dizzy. And hopefully the wind isn't too overbearing. But yeah, today I wanted to briefly talk about this idea of wealth and happiness, or money and happiness. And just sort of hit on kind of 2 points. Now, I was reading a book by Mike Viking, who leads the Happiness Research Institute or something like that in Denmark. And he has a book called Lykke, just spelled Lykke. I got it from my local library. You might want to consider doing the same. Give it a little read. It's really easy to read. It's really fun to read. But he has these 2 concepts in here that I wanted to briefly mention. One is this sort of complicated relationship between money and happiness. And what he says in there is, while money, or being extremely wealthy, may not correspond directly to being happy in a deep sense, meaningful sense, being or a lack of money, right, or being inherently kind of in an impoverished society or nation can in many ways make you unhappy. And so there's sort of this interesting tightrope walk there of, it's not necessarily the excess of money, right? It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, well, if a baby comes out perfectly at 9 months, why don't we leave it in there for 12 months or 18 months or whatever, right? It's not like the constant more and more and more is better and better and better. And this same idea has come out in different ways, where I think it's this idea that, like, beyond, I can't remember what it is, $90,000 a year US income or something, people's happiness doesn't really change at all or that much. But below that, there is a change, right? So it's a similar idea of, like, having exceedingly more money doesn't necessarily make you happy, but a lack of money that interferes with sort of basic needs and basic sense of well-being can certainly reduce happiness. So that's one. And the other thing, he has a very cool, it happens very briefly in the book. This is the second time I'm reading this book, but it always strikes me, is he has this, like, fictitious conversation that 2 friends are having, right? And it's like, friend A walks up to friend B and says, "Hey, haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing?" And friend B says, "Oh, I make $46,832 per year." Right? This puts such a fine point on this idea of how are you doing somehow is so tightly knit to your salary, your wage, your income, that you might as well just answer with that number, right? Because that should just say it all to the person. But it doesn't, right? No, we don't do that. And so that always strikes me in just sort of being like, oh yeah, I understand there's a point at which lack of money, lack of resources can interfere with happiness, can reduce happiness. But it's equally as silly to respond with how you are on any particular day with your salary, because that's not really the story. And may have a chapter in the book in your story, but it is not the story. So those are two little tidbits that I wanted to share from this book. I'll probably have some other stuff that comes up from this book because it's so good. And I'm going to read his other book after this that I will be reading, I think, for the second time again. It's called Hygge, Hygge. I'd recommend picking up both or either of them and getting started. Woo! Thought that was a bird. And yeah, give it a shot. Like I said, they're very fun books to read. They're very, very easy. It's a sort of a non-traditional layout of a book. As you get into it, you'll see what I mean. But to the extent to which that resonated with any of you, go check out those books. All right, folks. Thanks a bunch for walking and or watching, and I will see you in the next video.